Yeah, what's the deal? What's the deal? How you feel? What's the deal? Well, yeah. So y'all here? Y'all like inspiration? Y'all like motivation? Denise Camille. Y'all like ventilation? Denise Camille. Y'all know I gotta make up a few words here and there, but who y'all here with? Ventilation and Denise Camille. Under the act. But we not playing no game. We're not into games. We don't like Sega, PlayStation, or Xbox. So y'all here with Dilate the Dialogue with Denise Camille. Dilate the Dialogue. We gotta open up, not the legs, but the mind. Denise Camille. Because I know y'all trying to find y'all strength. Denise Camille. Intertwined with the life of me. Denise Camille.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Y'all here once again. Another episode of Dilate Dialogue with who? Denise Camille. That's me. I am a spiritual midwife, holistic couples counselor. I am so passionate for the mind. That's why I like to dilate the dialogue, to open up. Not them legs, but the minds, that pineal, to decalcify those thoughts that sometimes we feel that we don't really want to talk about, yet we need to talk about it, right? So here I am. We're with another episode. We're talking about being vulnerable to your voice, to your inner voice. I'm going to say that again. Being vulnerable to your inner voice. Right? So we're going to pause for that one real quick. We're going to be thinking about being vulnerable to your inner voice. What does that look like? What does that feel like? All right, y'all. Peace. All right, y'all. Welcome again. My name is Denise Camille. We're here with Dilate Dialogue with today's episode. Be vulnerable to your inner voice. Be vulnerable to your inner voice. So I want to break down the word vulnerable. What does it mean to be vulnerable? So when we hear the word vulnerable, I know when I hear the word vulnerable, I think of being open. Almost like not necessarily dilated, but opening to be able to just seep and just sit and just sift through what is coming up, or what is being around us, or what is being in us. Being vulnerable to the truth, right? Being able to assess what's going on and recognizing, okay, this is that. I'm not lying to myself. I'm not saying that, oh no, the sky is really gray, but I think I see sunshine, when in reality we're going through a whole tornado. It's like, okay, are we lying? Are we telling the truth? In a tornado, is the sun shining out there, or is the sky really gray? Is that a vulnerability of truth, or is that, hey, I'm lying to myself? You know, being vulnerable to me is recognizing my toxicities, recognizing my strengths, recognizing my flaws, and recognizing my weaknesses, and then taking them and seeing what are the positives. Again, I'm a solutioner, so I'm going to find the good in everything. Yet, what are the positives in those thoughts or in those actual facts? What are the truths? You know, because we can always find the cons in everything, right? Yet, we got to sit and say, okay, there's a negative, yet what makes it positive? You know, a lot of us don't even realize that the etymology of certain words are way we curse ourselves. You know, some of us don't even know that the word no is actually a positive and the word yes is actually a negative. Think about it. Most times we say yes to things that we don't even want to do, right? And then when we say no, we feel as if we should be feeling guilty or not wanting to speak because we don't want to do it, but we're so busy being taught, say yes, say yes, say yes. Even a song, all you got to do is say what? Say yes. It's like, but I don't want to say yes. I want to go back to sleep. I don't want to do nothing. But either way, I digress. Being vulnerable to yourself, to your truth, recognizing, hey, I'm not where I desire to be or I felt I should be at this point in time in my life because of the situations or reasons that I allowed in my life. And again, what I always say, if it's not a blessing, it's a what? It's a lesson, right? So having to figure out why certain things have occurred and what are we really vulnerable to. So with today's topic, being vulnerable to your inner voice, how many of us actually know we have an inner voice? How many of us actually know that there is a guide or an ancestor or a guardian angel or a higher power or God, whatever or whomever you deem as your source of creation and your source of everything, the universe, there's an inner voice. There is an inner voice that speaks to you that is, it not only does it address your calling, yet it also addresses your ego. I'm going to say that again. There's an inner voice there's one that addresses your calling, your life calling. Remember, we're all uniquely here on this earth for a purpose. Yet, some of us aren't aware of what our calling is or what our purpose is. And let me just break down to people say, well, what is a calling? Because I'm sure we've all heard people say, well, I had a calling on my life. I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm one of those that can say, honestly, there is a calling on my life. And if I don't go in that direction, they're going to stare me back and say, listen, this is what you're here for. So that calling is where you can, maneuver through life and go here and go there and wherever which way you want to go because you're trying to find your way, right? You're not trying, you're doing. There's no such word as trying. You're doing things to find your way. Yet there's some inkling inside you that says to you, not this way. Go that way. Call that person. Be still. I'm sure we've all heard a voice like that inside of us. Some of us can pinpoint who that voice is, if it's our voice, or pinpoint who that ancestor is that's speaking to us. And like I said before, there are two different realms. There's the spirit realm and there's the physical realm. The physical realm is way more real than the physical. The spirit realm is way more real than the physical realm. So when that inner voice speaks, that voice is guiding you. It's offering that guidance that we're all seeking to fulfill, right? We want to make sure that we're at a place of knowing, we're at a place of understanding who we are, why we're here, what's going on, and what's taking place, right? So it's having to figure out, how do we move in a place when we can hear that inner voice? How and when do we become vulnerable to that voice that speaks to us, right? We're going to ponder on that for a little bit. All right, y'all. So, like I was stating earlier, being mindful of the voice, right? The voice is our guidance. The voice is our, I would say, like the elder in our life that's making sure we go here, there, everywhere. Of course, they know we're in this physical realm. We're going to hiccup along the way. I'd rather not call it mistakes, because in life, nothing is a mistake and there's no such thing as a coincidence. There are things that are out there with spiritual laws. I'm sure you've all heard of the law of attraction, the law of manifestation. There is such a thing as a law of car accidents. These things are put in place to remind us of going in that direction of our calling. And for a quick example, and I do use a lot of cartoons sometimes, there's that movie Moana. In Moana, the background story is a young girl, village girl. She's supposed to be the next in line to be the chief. And that's her place in life, right? Yet her calling was brought to her attention as a toddler. And for some reason, all her life, she kept wanting to go back to the water. She didn't know why, but yet her calling was just saying, go to the water, go to the water. The water keeps calling you. There's a part in the movie when she sings this song, as her grandmother had already transitioned, she returns to her in the spirit realm and she says, why do you hesitate? Because she has a purpose to fulfill and it has to be in through the water. And the grandma's like, well, if you're not ready, then don't do it. I thought you were ready. I thought this was what you were supposed to do. I saw the water take you in and, bring you under. And as she goes to go back towards her village, she hesitates. And grandma said, why do you hesitate? And she said, it calls me. And for me, that drive, you can feel it from the depths of your bosom, that feeling of calling. It's like you just can't not go in the place of your purpose. You have to be vulnerable to that inner voice that's calling you. In order for you to be on purpose, in order for you to see with your own naked physical human eyes how beautiful the abundance is when you're on purpose, when you're on and in your calling. No one is here on this earth to bring harm, to add, destruction to another human being's life. Now, I know there have been certain situations, certain people in life where things are looking like if it's terrible, yet those have stemmed from challenges of other people's lives that others have inflicted pain on someone else, because hurt people hurt people. We're not going to get there for this episode, yet being vulnerable to your inner voice talks about how when there's something you're supposed to be doing in this life. And I say that with so much strength and empowerment behind that, because we all have it. We all have it. A lot of us are choosing to not be on purpose and get to that calling inside of us where, if you don't know what it is, just think about, what do you enjoy doing passionately without being compensated in monetary funds for? Think about it. There's that one thing in life that you would do any day of the year for free, and it's in service of yourself and it's in service of other human beings. We all have it. We all do. Yet a lot of us have tuned out our voice. We've tuned it out because we're so busy listening to the loud that's around us. Another movie, Chaos Walking. They talk about their thoughts being called loud. They'll say, turn your loud down. Because your thoughts are so loud, you're overthinking, you're overanalyzing, you're hearing everybody else's opinions on judgment on your life. Being vulnerable to your inner voice, meaning being still, listening, taking the time to appreciate what your thoughts are whispering to you. And that's the difference. The loud is the distractions. The loud is almost like the disobedience of your purpose. The voices that are on the TV, on the phone, on the environment that you're around, it's a distraction because you are supposed to be on purpose. The more calling, the more of an enrichment calling you have, the heavier the distractions are going to come in your life, because they're trying to make sure you don't fulfill that purpose, because you are one of the extremely gifted ones that are here to change humanity in a way that nothing that society is throwing at you can change. No politics, no money, no entertainment, no fame, none of that. That's not what your gift is. Here come the distractions. Here comes the healing. Being vulnerable to your inner voice is a true testament to say, I'm on purpose now. I'm finally realizing what my value has been all these years. I'm finally realizing I am a gift. Do you know what I'm saying? Being on purpose, be vulnerable to that inner voice. That inner voice whispers. And sometimes it starts with your inner child saying, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. or you saying that vice versa to your inner child, because they're waiting with open arms saying, come back. Come back. Life has really took us to a spiral that no roller coaster can compare. It's like one of those Batman superhero roller coasters with no brakes. Your feet are dangling and you're going up and down. You're just all over the place. And yet the gifted ones always land on their feet. Because the higher power knows that they're here for a greater calling, a greater purpose. Being vulnerable to your inner voice is truly honoring what you returned for. You know, energy is always transferred. We're all ancestors returning. We are a product of our timed environment. I'll say that. The only thing that we can count is time. You know, so we can go back and say, okay, well, that's grandma, that's great grandma, and it's always interesting to see how they return. What it looks like from this day and age opposed to what it was back then. I'm sure we all can remember there's at least one family member who we know is an ancestor that returned. We know they came back. Right? Yet we have to honor ourselves, honor our voice to find why we're here. What are we listening to? What are the voices in your head? That inner voice that is not there to harm you. It's there to love on you, to show you what true love, unconditional love looks like. That vulnerability of yourself. That love of yourself. That recognizing, yes, you've been hurt. Whew. Yes, you've been stabbed in the back. Yes, people have judged you based on their lack of. That doesn't stop you from being vulnerable to what you have to do, what you must continue to do, what you're needing to do for your own growth and progress in this life. Being vulnerable to that inner voice is allowing you to recognize, I am on purpose. I have a calling. This inner voice is so genuine. It is not here to steer me in the wrong direction. I don't know about you, but I know my ancestors are real, because when I do some real foolishness, oh, they act like the dude on Ghost, where he pushed him down, Patrick Swayze, on the train, and he was like, black trains. He did all of that. They do that to me. I know it's real. I know it's real. Nothing's coincidence. Because they know you have a greater purpose. Stay focused. Stay consistent to what you're needing to do. Be vulnerable to that inner voice in you. Again, if you don't know what the inner voice sounds like, be still. Like in Christianity, it says, be still and know that I am God. Know that you are God. Anything you think of becomes reality. Thoughts become things. Be vulnerable to your inner voice. Be mindful of what this voice is wanting to tell you. Again, spiritual midwife, I can talk about that with labor, with pregnant women, postpartum. Being vulnerable to your inner voice. Listening to your body while you're expecting. In labor and delivery. Listening to what your body is telling you. Listening to what your baby is talking to you and saying. Honing in, less talking, more listening. Listening to what that ancestor is returning wants you to do. We all have work to do. The project is ourselves. Having to grow it, feed it, water it, prune it, detox it, give it rest, relax, get back up again, and get with the labor. The real labor of life is honoring that voice. Staying in that frequency of focus. All right, y'all. Should y'all have any questions, hit me up. Put my number down below, my email. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Put all that in my bio. It's been real, y'all. Peace.